Imagine you have an acquaintance or a coworker who for years has spoken negatively about you, mocked you, and taken pleasure in your pain and your mistakes. One day, this coworker acquaintance, let's call them Marley. One day they confide in one of your mutual friends that something in you and your successes triggers deep-seated insecurity and shame in them, and they've been externalizing those negative emotions outwards by being negative about you. You feel like, wow, is Marley going to therapy? Marley seems self-aware. Maybe we can turn a new page. But that was years ago. And ever since, Marley has continued to talk negatively about you, mock you, and take pleasure in your pain and your mistakes. I think we've all known a Marley in our lives. I've been dealing with a Marley for the past year and a half. And for Taylor Swift, Marley is Charli XCX. I have been baffled by this low critical thinking, bad listening comprehension take that actually romantic is a simple clapback to sympathy is a knife, that Taylor misunderstood Charli's, vulnerability about her insecurities, when actually romantic spells out for us that Charli has continued to be negative about Taylor after Sympathy is a Knife was written years ago. Charli has continued to be passively aggressively negative towards Taylor quite publicly. I want to go through moments of Charli's passive aggressiveness towards Taylor after Sympathy is a Knife was written. And I want to decode some of the lyrics from Actually Romantic that I think are referring to some of these moments. And that's the thing about passive aggressiveness. It's passive, it's insidious, it's never as ostentatious as overt aggression. So there's always this plausible deniability that you can just say, oh, I was just joking. Oh, I didn't mean it to be mean. But the person who's on the receiving end of the passive aggressiveness is receiving this repeated digs and mockings, and naturally they're going to reach their breaking point. I also find it to be a very interesting double standard that Charli XCX has a song, Von Dutch, very similar in sentiment, kind of punching down at a adversary that she's on paper doing better than. But of course, when Taylor does it, it's the end of the world. This is Taylor Swift. Apparently, according to the Angels themselves, Von Dutch is speculated to be about FKA Twigs, another popular singer who dated one Maddie Healy, Charli's good friend and frontman of the 1975, who Taylor also dated when Sympathy is a Knife was written, which I think is relevant to some of the stuff I'm going to talk about. Oh yeah, by the way, my name is Wando, and I do want to clarify first, I like Charli XCX's music. I really loved Brat. Ironically, Sympathy is a Knife was my most listened to song. Okay, I know the Apple Dance or something. But the point of this video is to say that nobody in the entertainment industry gets this far without having some flaws in maybe their morality and their character. I just think it's important for people to review the facts, the evidence, and look at things objectively in a case-by-case situation. Okay, just briefly, I want to go over some of the stuff that's happened in their past. There's been a million videos about this already, so I'm not going to spend long on this. But I do think it's important because part of why passive aggressiveness continues is because if you continue to be nice to someone who's passive aggressive towards you, they're going to feel like there's no consequences for their actions. So it's just going to go on and on and on. And Taylor has a history of giving Charli chance after chance after chance. So Charli XCX was a surprise guest on Taylor Swift's 1989 World Tour, performing in October 3rd, 2015 in Toronto. Charli opened for Taylor on Taylor's Reputation tour in 2018. And that's where the famous diss from Charli about that tour has come from, when she said, "I'm really grateful that Taylor asked me on that tour, but as an artist, it kind of felt like I was getting up on stage and waving to 5-year-olds. And after she got some backlash for this, Charli clarified by saying that she had been used to playing venues where it was 18 plus. And so she kind of had to acclimatize to an audience that was full of people of all ages. This then seemed to resolve, and Taylor seemed like she had no problem with Charli. After that, she added one of her songs official to her Apple Music playlist in 2019. So I think that backstory is just relevant of just Taylor always, being the bigger person. Okay, so let's touch on the Sympathy of a Knife is it all, shall we? And put this to bed. Okay, so the earliest that this song could have possibly been written is maybe the end of 2022. I don't know, like May of 2023. And I say that because Taylor performed a couple of songs at a 1975 show in January of 2023, because you never know what's going on in these people's lives before the timelines hit the interwebs. And Charli says in the song, fingers crossed behind my back, I hope they break up soon. So we know that the song was written while they were together. Critical thinking. It was reported that they broke up in June. And so clearly, Actually Romantic is referring to things that are happening after that time period of them being together. So Taylor says in Actually Romantic, I heard you high five my ex for ghosting me, that you call me basic Barbie. You have to really dislike somebody to be so negative about them in front of people who you should know will make sure that what you've said gets back to that person. I also see a lot of people talking about how Maddie Healy posted in July of 2023 a to-do list that said break up with Margot Robbie, who famously played Barbie, and then went out with Charli a few nights later, according to her Instagram stories, a woman who allegedly calls Taylor boring Barbie. So a lot of people think those things correlate, but if you look at the image, he posted it end of July, and there were already reports that they broke up in June. So I don't put that much stock into this, but I do think it's interesting in terms of like the nicknames that they make for people. Now, what I find more interesting is that a lot of angels think that Von Dutch is about FKA Twigs. And a big reason that they believe this is because Charli and FKA Twigs unfollowed each other 24 hours after Charli posted some social media shade diss subtweet or something. Charli was being quite supportive of a podcast that was being very rude about FKA Twigs. And some of the angels thought at the time Sympathy is a Knife could be about FKA Twigs. But what I think the big takeaway from this song, and the fact that she seems to like have issues with Maddie's famous female singer partners all the time, is that she seems to have these enmeshed, overbearing boundaries type of mother-in-law thing going on, where she's like the matriarch of the 1975. And in Sympathy is a Knife, Charli acknowledges that a lot of the negativity comes from her end because she's not really alluding to anything that Taylor's done. So while I love the forthcomingness of Sympathy is a Knife, at the same time, if I were Taylor and I heard the lyric, fingers crossed behind my back, I hope they break up quick, naturally I'd wonder, were you like egging on my ex to break up with me while I was with him? Especially seeing as how he immediately rebounded with someone that you're really good friends with. Coincidence or conspiracy? Okay, so let's put Sympathy is a Knife to bed and let's focus on stuff that's happened after that song was written years ago, shall we? Okay, so as Actually Romantic goes on to say, well, Taylor says, hadn't thought of you in a long time, but you keep sending me funny Valentines, and I know you think it comes off vicious, but it's precious, adorable. I wonder if funny Valentines means these tweets and social media activity and other things that Charli has continued to do that are passive aggressive towards Taylor Swift. So some examples. So when the 360 music video came out, there seemed to be this orchestrated need to mock the Bad Blood music video of Taylor's with a picture of her music video. It's Bad Blood for girls who blank. Gabriette also in May reshared, was it a tweet? Someone saying it's bad blood for girls that do coke. Another core tenet of passive aggressiveness is if one person says something that's kind of silly, who cares? But when it's them and their friend, it feels like a bit of a passive aggressive gang up. So then another example is Charli famously had that feature with New York Magazine and was a cover girl where a lot of the photos, or a number of the photos I should say, were pictures of a severed hand with a friendship bracelet on it. Obviously, Taylor Swift and friendship bracelet became synonymous during the Eras tour. Charli seems to exhibit this like passive aggressive identity disturbance thing where a lot of her definition of her identity needs to juxtapose itself against Taylor's identity and define hers as the opposite of Taylor's, or what Taylor's isn't, or this is what Taylor is and I'm this over here. that is a very annoying passive aggressive thing, that when you're on the receiving end of it and you're just seeing someone do that with you, like juxtapose their identity against yours to make a case about their identity and how cool or better it is or whatever, it's annoying. And nobody else is seeing it as much as you're seeing it, because it's targeted towards you. It's not targeted towards other people. You also find yourself being frustrated because you're like, can't your identity just stand alone on its own merits? Charli also tweeted, "Sympathy is a knife," the same day that the Georgia Post Department album came out, giving away that Taylor kind of lives in her mind. Charli also retweeted one of Taylor's tweets that was Taylor rejoicing about a positive review from Billboard, with Charli's caption promoting her own sweat tour. Like, it's kind of giving Kanye, which for Taylor must be kind of creepy. Watching a person have this pattern of this public preoccupation with you while also privately digging you out and meddling in your life. So one of these things happening is, okay, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern, 4 times is a pattern. And these are the public ways she's being passive aggressive. We don't know these people, so naturally there would be things happening that we don't know about, like Taylor let us in on and actually romantic. So I think Taylor has absolutely done the right thing by being like, you know what? I'm going to like go for the jugular. I'm going to buck up and I'm going to say some stuff to smack her down. And I think that's a lesson for anybody who's dealing with a person who's being passive aggressive towards you in friendships, in the workplace. And this is like, you're seeing it play out, that oftentimes people will think you're the aggressor. People will shame you for your reaction after so much time of being the bigger person. But being the bigger person is unfortunately kind of complicit in that passive aggressiveness continuing to come your way, because the passive aggressive person feels safe to be that way with you because they feel like there's never going to be a consequence for their actions. So I'm proud of Taylor Swift. I'm really proud of her. And all of this isn't to say that Charli's a bad person. Again, everybody in this entertainment industry is extremely flawed and not perfect, and they're all competitive, and they all have elements of delusion and needing to get to the top. They're all like this. Nobody is perfect. I'm making this video just to point out that it's killing me that people can be objective in analyzing this. So that's all I have to say for this video. And leave some comments. If you leave some mean ones, I gotta say it. It's actually romantic. Bye.